There comes a moment when a man finally understands the weight of what he pushed away, and for him, that moment arrived the second he realized you weren't coming back. There's a moment in every person's life when they finally step away from someone they cared for deeply, believing the story is over, the chapter closed, the last page turned. But then, out of nowhere, they sense something strange, a presence still lingering where it shouldn't be, a familiar energy watching from the shadows, a quiet echo that refuses to fade. And maybe you've felt that echo too. The faint reminder of someone who walked away, someone who said goodbye, someone who chose distance, yet somehow never fully left your orbit. And the question that begins to form in your heart is simple, but heavy. Why does he still feel connected to you, even after everything ended? The truth is, people don't move on as cleanly as they think they do. They don't detach as quickly as their words suggest. When someone becomes a part of your life, truly a part of it, their influence doesn't disappear the moment they leave. There's an emotional residue, a mark on the soul, a familiar warmth or ache that lingers long after the goodbye. And that's what he feels now, the echo of what you gave him, the imprint of your presence, the memory of how it felt to be cared for by someone who saw him in ways he rarely saw himself. There are connections in this world that aren't loud, but they're unforgettable. The kind that don't demand attention, yet command loyalty. The kind that show a person who they could be, who they almost were, before fear, confusion, or immaturity pushed them in another direction. Maybe you offered him patience in moments when he didn't deserve it. Maybe you brought clarity to chapters of his life filled with chaos. Maybe you showed him a love that wasn't rushed, a vulnerability that wasn't forced, a form of understanding he didn't know how to return. And there's something incredible about the way you cared. Not dramatic, not performative. Just real, human, grounded. You didn't try to fix him. You didn't try to change him. You simply showed up with honesty, compassion, and the kind of presence that makes another person feel safe. And for someone who had spent years building walls around himself, that safety meant more than he ever admitted. It became a place he went to without realizing it, a mental space carved out by the comfort you gave. You might think he forgot it. You might think he replaced it. You might think the distance made him immune to the memory. But the human heart doesn't work like that. We remember the places we felt seen. We remember the moments we were heard. We remember the people who made us feel like we mattered, even when we weren't our best selves. And he remembers. Studies on emotional memory have shown something fascinating. The brain holds onto positive emotional imprints far longer than negative ones. Pain fades, anger dissolves, but warmth, connection. The moments someone treated us with genuine kindness, those memories stay. They hide in the quiet corners of the mind and resurface when life grows heavy again. And for him, that warmth was you. He might not speak about it. He might pretend he never noticed. He might walk around acting like what you gave him was something small, something ordinary, something forgettable. But deep down, he feels it. Every time he goes through a moment that reminds him of what he once had, he feels the loss. Every time he enters a new situation lacking honesty, lacking calm, lacking the gentle energy you brought into his world, he feels the difference. And that difference is heavy. It comes back to him like an echo, quiet but constant. There's a reason he still checks in on you, in whatever way he can. A reason he still finds himself drawn back into your world, even if only from a distance. It's because the connection you shared wasn't transactional. It wasn't built on shallow compliments, half-hearted conversations, or temporary convenience. You offered something that required courage, your presence, your empathy, your loyalty, your softness dressed in strength. And even though he didn't know how to hold it, he still remembers how it felt to receive it. You are the rare kind of person who listens without judgment, who cares without conditions, who gives without calculating the return. You didn't claim to be his savior. You didn't try to be perfect. You just gave what your heart naturally gives: kindness, depth, sincerity. And that kind of energy is hard to walk away from, no matter how far he tries to run. People spend years looking for a connection that makes them feel grounded, a connection that doesn't demand armor or performance, a connection where they can breathe. You gave him that, and now he feels the absence of it. There's something else too, something he doesn't say, something he doesn't even fully understand. He didn't just lose you. He lost the version of himself he was when he was with you. When he was near you, something inside him softened. His guard dropped. His heart opened in ways he didn't expect. And when he walked away, he didn't just leave you behind. He left behind that softer version of himself. That's a loss people rarely acknowledge, but they feel it deeply. Think back to the quiet moments, the honest conversations, the subtle ways you held space for him. Those weren't just memories for you. They were transformations for him. Even if he didn't tell you, those moments changed him. They showed him what it felt like to be supported without pressure and valued without conditions. And when life gets too loud, when he finds himself in the company of people who don't understand him the way you did, that memory becomes a refuge. It's not you he can't let go of. It's the way he felt when you were in his life, and the echo of that feeling, warm, gentle, grounding, still follows him everywhere he goes. He may not return. He may not apologize. He may not acknowledge the depth of what you gave. But he feels it, he carries it. And in moments he'll never reveal, he misses it with a quiet intensity he doesn't know how to put into words. Because what you gave him wasn't ordinary. It wasn't replaceable. It wasn't something he could walk away from without consequence. He still feels the echo, and whether he admits it or not, that echo changed him. There's a strange thing that happens when someone walks out of your life believing they've taken something essential with them. They leave with this quiet confidence that you'll crumble in their absence, that you'll slow down, fall apart, lose your fire. They convince themselves that you needed them more than they ever needed you. And maybe for a brief moment, you believed that story too. Heartbreak has a way of making even the strongest souls question their worth. But life has a way of revealing the truth in ways no one ever expects. When he left, he imagined you sitting there, replaying every memory, every message, every smile. He thought the silence would swallow you whole. He thought the emptiness would consume you. He expected your world to dim the moment he walked out of it. He thought he was your anchor, your center, the thing holding your universe together. But what he didn't understand was simple: you were the one holding yourself together long before he came along. Maybe you cried in the beginning. Maybe you had nights where the weight of everything pressed down on your chest like a storm that wouldn't pass. Maybe you stared at the ceiling, asking why things fell apart, asking how someone could walk away so easily. Those moments were real, they were painful, they were human, but they weren't the end of you. They were the beginning of something else, something stronger, something deeper, something he never imagined you had inside you. Because while he was expecting your collapse, something different was happening. Slowly, quietly, you were rebuilding. You were rediscovering pieces of yourself that had been pushed aside. You were learning how to breathe again without asking anyone for permission. You were learning how to stand without needing someone to steady you. You were learning that your strength didn't depend on who stayed or who left. It lived in you all along. There's a strange kind of growth that happens in silence, a growth no one sees until it becomes impossible to ignore. While he was checking your stories, expecting signs of sadness, you were learning how to laugh again. While he was waiting for a message that never came, you were finding new ways to feel alive. While he assumed your life would fall apart without him, you were slowly building something he never contributed to, your own peace. And the thing about peace is that it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't stand on a stage and demand applause. It grows quietly in the background until one day, even you are surprised by how far you've come. You stop waking up with heaviness. You stop feeling that ache in your chest. You stop replaying old conversations, wondering where things went wrong. Instead, you start looking forward. You start dreaming again. You start reconnecting with the parts of yourself that he never took the time to understand. There's a moment that comes after heartbreak that no one talks about. That moment when you see yourself in the mirror and realize you survived something you weren't sure you could. You realize your heart didn't break, it opened. You realize your world didn't end, it shifted. You realize losing someone didn't destroy you, it freed you. And in that realization, a quiet power wakes up inside you, a power he never saw because he was too busy thinking he was the best thing you had. But here's the part that surprises him the most. You didn't just survive, you transformed. You didn't just get back on your feet. You rose in a way he never saw coming. You went back to your passions. You started taking care of your mind again. You began focusing on your goals, your dreams, your future. You started shining even if the world didn't notice it right away. And when he finally looked again, when he finally checked in, expecting to find the version of you he left behind, he couldn't recognize you anymore. There's a quiet shock that hits a person when they realize the person they expected to weaken actually strengthened. And it's not the loud kind of strength. It's not the show off to the world kind of strength. It's the calm, steady kind, the kind you earn in the dark, the kind you build while healing wounds no one else knew about. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need revenge or attention or validation. It's the kind that simply exists, unshakable. What he didn't understand was that heartbreak doesn't destroy a woman who knows who she is. It refines her. It sharpens her. It clears her vision. It strips away illusions and forces her to see what truly matters, her own voice, her own heart, her own worth. You weren't broken by his departure, you were awakened by it. Real growth often begins the moment someone stops believing you're capable of it. Sometimes you need someone to doubt you just to show yourself what you're truly made of. And in your case, his doubt became the spark. His leaving became the lesson. His expectations became the fuel that pushed you into a better version of yourself. Not because of him, but in spite of him. And maybe the most powerful transformation of all was this: you learned to love yourself the way you once loved him. You learned to give yourself the compassion you used to give away so freely. You learned to stand on your own without waiting to validate the ground beneath your feet. You learned that you don't need someone's presence to be complete. You don't need someone's approval to shine. You don't need someone to stay in order to feel whole. There's a quiet beauty in realizing that someone who expected your downfall ended up being the reason for your rise. Life has a way of flipping the script in the most unexpected ways. He thought he was closing your story, but all he did was open a new chapter, one where you finally put yourself at the center, where you became your own source of strength, where you discovered that nothing and no one can break a woman who chooses to rise. He underestimated you, and that's okay, because you didn't rise to prove him wrong. You rose to prove yourself right. There's something almost haunting about the way people look back on relationships long after they've ended. Not because they miss the other person's face, or the sound of their laugh, or the memories wrapped around late night conversations. Sometimes what they truly miss is the version of themselves they used to be when they were loved by someone who saw the best in them. And that realization doesn't come all at once. It arrives quietly, like a memory slipping through the cracks of everyday life, until suddenly it becomes impossible to ignore. When you cared for him, you didn't just offer affection or attention. You offered a mirror, one that reflected his potential, his goodness, his softness, even the parts of him he hid from the world. You didn't fall for who he pretended to be. You fell for who he was underneath the defenses, underneath the fear, underneath the rough edges life had carved into him. You saw the vulnerability he tried to bury. You saw the dreams he stopped talking about. You saw the light he no longer believed he had. And in your presence, he softened, not in a way that made him weak, but in a way that made him whole. For a while, he became someone he didn't recognize, someone calm, someone hopeful, someone open. It's strange how love does that to people. It reveals the hidden pieces they forgot existed. It brings out the best in them, the gentler version, the version that laughs more easily, listens more closely, breathes more deeply. He didn't understand at the time that you weren't just loving him, you were showing him himself. You were reminding him of the kind of man he could be when he wasn't guarded, when he wasn't defensive, when he wasn't trying to outrun his own past. He stood a little taller around you. He spoke more honestly. He felt a sense of peace he couldn't explain. And even though he never said it out loud, being around you made him feel like a better person. But somewhere along the way, fear stepped in. Sometimes people walk away not because they don't care, but because caring forces them to confront parts of themselves they're not ready to face. He left believing he was walking away from you. What he didn't realize was that he was also walking away from the version of himself he only ever met when he was with you. Life has a way of revealing this truth slowly. It happens on quiet nights, when the noise of the world finally settles. It happens when he meets new people who don't make him feel grounded the way you did. It happens when he's surrounded by people who only know the guarded version of him and expect nothing more. It happens when he looks in the mirror and sees a man who feels heavier, harder, more distant than he used to be. There comes a moment, sometimes weeks later, sometimes months, when he realizes something is missing. At first, he assumes it's you. The messages, the conversations, the inside jokes, the warmth. But eventually he understands that the emptiness goes deeper. It's not just the absence of you, it's the absence of who he was with you. The tenderness, the honesty, the quiet courage to be vulnerable. That version of himself felt rare, like a part of him he never learned to nurture on his own. He didn't appreciate it while it was there. Most people don't. We're rarely aware of the best parts of ourselves in the moment we're living them. We only notice when they're gone, and he notices now. The distance made it clear, the silence made it louder, because the version of him that existed in your presence wasn't fragile, it was real. It was the closest he had come to feeling aligned with the person he always wanted to become. He remembers the way your voice used to calm him down when he was overwhelmed. He remembers the trust he felt when he opened up to you about things he'd never spoken aloud. He remembers the way you believed in him, especially in the moments he didn't believe in himself. There's something unforgettable about being seen fully, especially when you've spent most of your life hiding. You didn't just give him love, you gave him access to a deeper version of himself. And now without you, he doesn't feel that same sense of grounding. He doesn't feel as open or as brave. He holds things in more. He smiles less freely. He feels the weight of everything a little heavier than before. It's not that he's unhappy, it's that he's uncentered. And he doesn't understand why until that moment hits him, the moment he realizes he misses himself. People don't talk about this enough. They talk about missing another person, missing touch, missing presence. But they rarely talk about missing who they used to be, and that loss is far more painful. Because missing another person can fade, but missing yourself stays with you. It follows you into new relationships, new friendships, new chapters of life. It whispers to you in moments when you least expect it. He scrolls back through old conversations sometimes, not to reconnect with you, but to reconnect with who he was when he was with you. He rereads the words he wrote and wonders where that version of himself went. He hears his own voice in audio messages, lighter, calmer, more open, and it feels like listening to a stranger he wishes he could be again. You didn't force him to be that person. You didn't demand change. You simply held a space where he felt safe enough to become more honest, more genuine, more human. And once someone experiences that kind of space, nothing else compares. You made him feel something he hadn't felt in a long time, like he wasn't too much or too complicated or too distant. You made him feel possible. It's not your responsibility that he lost that version of himself. You didn't take it with you. It was always his. But he tied it so closely to your presence that when he left, he lost both at the same time. And now, as the days pass, as life continues, he feels the echo of that loss in ways he can't articulate. Not to friends, not to family, not even to himself. He may not reach out. He may not admit what he feels. He may not take ownership of the truth. But deep in the quiet places he avoids, he knows something he can't shake. Being loved by you awakened a version of himself he didn't know how to hold on to. And now he misses that version more than anything else. Because the love you gave wasn't ordinary. It was transformative. It illuminated the parts of him he thought were dead. It shaped him in ways he never saw coming. And now, in the absence of that light, he realizes it wasn't you he lost, it was himself. There's a certain confidence some people carry when they walk away. A quiet arrogance. A belief so deeply woven into their ego that they don't even question it. He thought you'd chase him. He thought you'd crumble. He thought the absence would weaken you, confuse you, pull you toward him like gravity. He believed he held that kind of power over your heart. And maybe once he did. Maybe once you cared enough to fight for him, to explain yourself, to hold on even when the connection was slipping. But something changed. Something deep inside you finally woke up. You realized your worth didn't depend on someone recognizing it. You realized love shouldn't feel like a battlefield where only one person is fighting. And so, instead of chasing, you chose silence, not out of spite, not out of anger, but out of self-respect, out of peace. Out of the simple understanding that a heart like yours should never have to beg for what it deserves. And he didn't see it coming. He walked away with that same assumption many make, that you'd come running, that you'd text first, that you'd explain, plead, negotiate, apologize for things you didn't even do. He expected the call, the long message, the emotional confession. He waited for the version of you who once cared too deeply, too openly. But that version of you wasn't standing there anymore. She had grown, she had learned, and she had finally understood that chasing someone who is already walking away is just another way of abandoning yourself. Silence can be loud, louder than words, louder than anger, louder than heartbreak. It forces truth out of shadows. It exposes the reality someone tried to outrun. and your silence became a mirror he couldn't escape, a mirror that reflected something he never expected to see, his own insignificance in the story he thought he controlled. At first, he brushed it off. He told himself you were being dramatic, stubborn, emotional. Then days passed, then weeks, and suddenly the silence didn't feel like distance. It felt like consequence. It felt like clarity. It felt like something slipping from his hands that he never imagined losing. Silence has a strange way of making a person examine themselves. It makes them replay the things they said too carelessly. It makes them rethink the moments they took for granted. It makes them realize how easily they assumed they could hurt someone and still expect devotion in return. And in your silence, he started confronting a truth that stung. You weren't chasing because you were done. You weren't chasing because you had finally healed. You weren't chasing because your heart had learned a lesson it took him far too long to understand. This wasn't a game. This wasn't revenge. This was growth, and people rarely recognize growth until it exposes their own lack of it. He didn't expect the peace you found. He didn't expect the calm that replaced your anxiety. He didn't expect you to start sleeping better, thinking clearer, smiling more freely. He thought his absence would break you, but instead it freed you. It opened space in your life that he once filled with confusion, mixed signals, empty promises, and emotional exhaustion disguised as love. Your silence wasn't meant to hurt him, but it did, because silence is honesty without words. It tells someone, I don't need you to understand my worth for me to honor it. And that truth can be devastating for someone who expected power, control, or attention. Slowly, he started feeling the emptiness you used to feel when he ignored you. He began checking your profile the way you once checked his. He started wondering who you were becoming now that he wasn't there to slow you down. He noticed the glow returning to your life, the peace in your posts, the shift in your energy, and that quiet transformation hit him harder than any message ever could. Silence showed him that you didn't lose anything when he left. He did. He lost the softness you brought into his life. He lost the patience you carried. He lost the version of himself he could have grown into beside you. He lost someone who would have stood with him through the storms he hides from everyone else. And for the first time, he felt the weight of what he let go. People always expect the one with the kindest heart to come chasing. They think empathy equals dependency. They assume love equals weakness. But the heart that loves deeply is also the heart that can walk away with the most strength. Because when someone who gives with loyalty finally chooses silence, it means they've given everything they could. It means they're done negotiating for their own value. It means they've finally chosen themselves. Your silence wasn't emptiness. It was acceptance. And acceptance is the final stage of any heartbreak. It's the moment you stop rewriting the past and start respecting your future. It's the moment you stop holding on to the illusion and finally embrace the truth. But he wasn't ready for your acceptance. He was counting on your attachment. He was counting on your fear of losing him. And instead, he's the one left struggling with the fear of losing you. He's the one replaying memories like they're scenes from a movie he walked out of too early. He's the one searching for the version of you who no longer exists. Your silence became his punishment, not because you intended it, but because he created the conditions that made silence your only choice. You didn't disappear to hurt him. You disappeared to heal yourself. And in that healing, he felt the consequence of every moment he underestimated you. He thought you'd chase him, but instead you outgrew him. You evolved past the version of yourself that ever needed to. And now he sits in the echo of a silence he caused, finally realizing the truth he refused to see. You weren't afraid of losing him. He was the one who should have been afraid of losing you. There's a moment in every person's life when they realize the thing they kept taking for granted isn't coming back. And it hits quietly at first, like a thought you try to ignore, like a shadow you pretend isn't following you. But the truth has weight. It settles in the chest. It presses on the mind. It whispers in the places where pride used to be loud. And that's where he is now, standing in a space he created, a space he once believed he could control, only to find it empty in a way he never expected. Deep down, he knows you won't come back. And that terrifies him in ways he never dared to imagine, because for the longest time, he believed he had time. He believed he had options. He believed he could turn away, walk off, disappear into his ego, and somehow you would still be there, waiting, holding space, keeping a light on for him like you always did. He thought your heart was a given, your presence a guarantee, your loyalty a constant. And he moved as if you were permanent in a world where everything else shifted. But now he feels the shift. Now he senses the truth. The strength you found out of his absence wasn't a temporary phase. It wasn't a moment of anger or a reaction to hurt. It was a transformation. And he sees it, maybe from afar, maybe through silence, maybe through the stillness he never thought would exist between you. And that silence, that distance, that finality, it speaks louder than any goodbye. What terrifies him isn't just losing you, it's losing the version of himself he only ever became when he was loved by you. You brought out the softness in him. You brought out the honesty, the vulnerability, the humanity he didn't show anyone else. And when he walked away, he told himself he could live without it. He convinced himself that freedom meant nothing could hurt him. But freedom without meaning is emptiness. And emptiness follows a person longer than loneliness ever will. Your silence didn't punish him instantly. It was slow. It was a realization built over days and nights where he expected a message, a call, a sign that you still cared. He waited for the familiar pattern, the cycle where he pulls away and you pull him back. But this time, nothing came. And in that nothingness, he felt something for the very first time: fear. Fear that he lost someone who actually cared. Fear that he pushed away the one person who understood him. Fear that he let his pride make decisions his heart never agreed with. Fear that he had mistaken your strength for dependence and your love for obligation. And now he sees what he didn't understand before. You didn't stay because you needed him. You stayed because you chose him. And once that choice disappeared, he realized how fragile his assumptions were. He's terrified because he can feel the finality in your silence, the peace in your distance, the acceptance in your absence. You're not angry. You're not resentful. You're not waiting to be chased. You've simply outgrown the version of yourself that hoped he would change. And that kind of growth is irreversible. There's a unique kind of fear that hits a person when they realize they're no longer part of the story they once took for granted. It's not the fear of loneliness, it's the fear of irrelevance. Deep down, he knows you've stepped into a life where he is no longer needed, no longer considered, no longer the center around which your emotions revolve. And that is a kind of loss no apology can fix. He imagines moments where he tries to come back, tries to speak, tries to explain, but his own voice feels small against the strength you built without him. He imagines reaching out only to feel the distance he created reflected back at him. He imagines trying to say everything he never said, only to realize that now it's not your responsibility to listen. And what terrifies him most is the realization that someone else will experience the version of you he never took the time to cherish. Someone else will be met with your patience, your loyalty, your gentleness, your fire. Someone else will see you not as an option, but as a blessing. And for the first time in his life, he understands that losing you wasn't an event. It was a consequence. He never thought the day would come when you'd stop fighting for him. But you didn't stop because you didn't care. You stopped because you finally started caring for yourself. And once you did, the door that had always been open for him finally closed with a quiet, steady grace. No drama, no explosion, just a peaceful ending he never expected from someone he thought would always return. It terrifies him because there's no going back from this version of you. You aren't the same person who waited, who hoped, who forgave without being asked. You aren't the person he left behind. You've grown into someone who knows her worth, someone who doesn't measure love by who stays, but by who shows up with intention, and he knows he doesn't fit into that new world. So he sits with the truth. He feels it settling deeper each day. He feels the weight of the memories, the echoes of the moments you shared, the softness he once dismissed but now longs for. He feels everything he thought he could outrun catching up to him in ways he can't escape. Deep down, he knows you won't come back. And that truth terrifies him because he finally understands that you were the one thing in his life he should have held on to, but didn't. And now he has to live with the echo of what he lost. In the end, what he fears isn't losing you, it's facing the truth about himself. He's terrified because your absence did what your presence never could. It revealed his blind spots, his patterns, his mistakes. It showed him the kind of love he wasn't ready to receive and the kind of woman he'll never find again. And as he watches you rise without looking back, he finally understands something he never did before. You weren't just someone he loved. You were the mirror that could have made him better if he had been brave enough to face it. Now he's left with a fear he'll carry for a long time. Not that you're gone, but that someone else will appreciate the version of you he never learned to value.